I didn't know they were. I tried to get their attention, but I failed. So
Well, I will share this with anyone who's interested anyway, so we can start. Anyone who will join, will join.
yeah.
Uh,
I can't hear you.
I will try to speak loudly.
Can I have a kitchen maybe? Would it be better more to kitchen? I don't know.
I was thinking about that, but if some of the sea level people kind of walk around there, that might not be a good.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to deal with this.
Well, at least I'll have this to sit for in the board meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, but that's during daytime, so
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, but welcome to CV workshop. Okay, apparently it doesn't work like that. So on our agenda, I will tell you a little bit why you should listen to me, why you should trust me on this, and then a little bit about what is career mission, then about your CV, cover letter, then does any of you have portfolios? Okay, then we'll skip that.
It's a bit different. There's something like that in GitHub and so on. So
yeah, well, maybe we'll just skip that. And then a few words about home assignments. There's no any kind of presentation on that, but just words. Interviews, also I didn't have enough time to do the slides, but blah, blah, blah. Contract negotiations, that's if we have enough time. So, first off, I have a pretty good track record. During these past 7 years, once I started to put a lot of attention to my CV, cover letter, portfolio, and so on and so on, I've had more or less, well, basically 100% success rate of getting an interview if I send an application. Out of those, maybe 40%, I've gotten an offer out of. Of course, the amount of jobs is less than that, but that I've actually then taken. But basically, what I've been doing is that I constantly review, or maybe like once or twice a year, I review my CV, cover letter template, portfolio, and also let other people see it and give comments. I also put my friends into use.
Other people, your friends, or
Friends, peers, like former colleagues, former superiors. Few of my friends, I use them specifically because they are HR and recruitment specialists. So we kind of do these kind of workshops while having beers. So actually I have a beer right now, so since we're officially outside of office hours. Basically, I have a constant notification system from a few different channels. LinkedIn is the most, what I use the most. I get the weekly or every 3 days or something, the notifications. I think most of you have that as well. I think I have Monster, kind of Vahti as well. And then I use, or I'm part of few social media networks that post job offers, job ads quite frequently. Then I make sure that I have an up-to-date CV, up-to-date portfolio. I actually have 4 different kind of portfolios. Which one of those I use depends on the job that I'm looking for. So I have one kind of generic UX service design portfolio, one healthcare UX related, one product design and furniture design and interior design, and then one photography and graphic design. Then a cover letter template that I reuse.
a template for a cover letter.
So basically I have this template that I might change a few words here and there, the first paragraph, and then maybe change some wordings or order of certain industries that I've worked in or something like that to suit the job that I apply to. But more or less, I only tweak a few sentences here and there. And mostly only the first paragraph. We will get to that soon. Then, well, apply, and then when I'm waiting for if I get an interview or not, I will still prepare for the interview. I have a list of interview questions, or this kind of training, what I call it, to get myself ready for the interview. If I know there's a psychological test, I will do some of those tests beforehand. And also, I put the soul searching there because I want to make sure that I know why I'm applying for that job specifically. So we'll start off with an exercise. Take pen and post-its. This exercise and the next one is basically because CV, cover letter, and whatever you kind of tools that you have when you apply for a job, they are exactly that. They are tools to get you where do you want to go in your life or during your career. Yes.
There's a bean missing. Second sentence.
Shit. Well, scrap that. You can skip this exercise.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'll give you a few minutes. Michael is included. And proud moments, even like small moments can work. Projects, if it was an individual development, for instance, I could say that during my time in Enevo, I'm particularly proud that I learned to listen more, or something like that. And to be clear, you don't need to share these with anyone. You can put whatever you want, and you don't need to show them to me or anyone else.
Mistä sä oot? Siitä ei tule kyselemään. They don't have to be anything huge. They can be a small success, or even if you just cut through to someone that you worked on, like to form a relationship or something. Take a post-it and pen and write down a few things that you're proud of.
I will.
You don't need to share it with anyone.
Okay. Even that was a bit possible.
Oh, his life has been short so far.
Yeah. 8 months. Well, I bet he had 8 months.
6 months for him is 42 months. That's almost 4 years.
he was pretty damn proud of following them.
What would you say is his best career achievement?
Pull off the haircut.
Yes. I guess he did an excellent job as following your orders at least.
We lost our soundtrack. Should I put some music on?
Depends, if it's the same kind of, then no.
It's a klaxon. Okay, are you about done? You don't need to be finished, like finish all 6 of them, but you can move on to the next. Next exercise. Keep those so that you remember those later on. And then second exercise. Write down 3 positive characteristics about yourself, and then 1 characteristic that you want to develop. And again, we're not sharing this. This is only for your kind of a background work.
Actually, we could share this.
Well, it changes how people, like.
No, but like, you know, if you want. Of
Yeah,
course.
well, if you
yeah,
want to
okay.
share it, yes.
I mean, like, in the sense, like, I can ask you how you see me.
Mm.
I mean, you know, that's always nice. I mean, not saying like.
It's always nice if
Yeah, well,
I mean, with people that knows you.
Yeah, but we're actually coming to that at some
Okay,
point.
sorry.
Not in that sense, maybe what you said, but a bit. And you have a few minutes again. If you come up more than 1 plus 1, 3 plus 1, then you go on and write those down as well. But more or less done. Okay. And then there's a third exercise, and this is perhaps a biggie. List down 2 to 3 things that you want to focus on. Out of all of the things that you're doing now or are developing yourself kind of to do, the things that you want to focus on now, let's say current and within next year. 1 new thing that you want to focus on, and then 1 new thing that you want to focus on within a few years. So not now, but what you would want to develop yourself, or what want to focus on maybe in 2 or 3 years.
How do the 2 to 3 things differ from the 1 new thing?
Well, those are acquired expertise already. New thing is something that you
Okay.
kind of
Alright, okay.
a
So
new
what-
addition.
The first one, what's the timeline for that?
Well,
What do you think
basically,
you want to focus on now?
yeah,
What's the
basically your
presence?
current expertise. Out of all of the things that you know
Okay.
and can do right now, what are the things that you want to focus on? Like, let's say, expertise in certain language, code language, or something like that, for instance, or something completely different. This is either work related. You can of course choose something like life related, but and then once you're done, think of one thing you don't want to focus on, but you've kind of had to, or it's part of your work currently, and then one thing you don't want to focus on anymore after a few years. Basically, figuring out what do you want to be now, or where do you want to be now, what's the direction you want to go, what are the things that you will leave behind. I will give you at least 5 minutes for this. And it doesn't matter if you don't get them all. It took me like 1 hour last time I did this. So. George.
Nice. Is that a sprinkler?
Yeah.
Fitting, okay. So keep your laptops out.
You still have a few minutes if you want. So, current focus, one new thing in a few years, something that you see yourself doing, and then one thing that you want out of your current life, one thing that you want to leave behind somewhere in the future.
two last ones. But I'm not done. I don't want to focus on you now. Move.
And you can think, for instance, where you think the craft that you're or the job that you're doing, or the industry that you're working in, where does that develop? What do you think will become obsolete at some point? That it doesn't make any sense to focus on those anymore in a few years, or to develop those skills further, for instance. Okay. Are you more or less done? You will get all of these, so if you, for instance, want to continue with one exercise, you can do so after this workshop as well. Then I'll introduce you to this kind of mystery persona that I'm going to use as an example during this workshop. A person called Marja. So about career missions. This is a thing that, well, you see my notes there. This is a thing that some will find as a kind of gimmick. Others will find as a good marketing tool. Me, myself, I find it as a tool to kind of guide myself. So basically, my mission is to equip people for the future on their own terms. Basically, do you notice what's missing there?
Anything specific?
Exactly. So, for instance, my mission isn't to make exceptional user experiences or anything like that. It's something that I can do almost whatever my profession is. For instance, if I would go to, I don't know, customer service part of industry, I could still follow this mission. This is just a few pointers how to form a mission. So basically, you should dig down and think about the things that drive you. Then things that you, like in the previous exercise, you want to remove from your life. Where don't you want to put any focus on? What are the values? And how do you think your profession, or what are you doing now, how will it evolve in the future? So I can give a few examples. For instance, I see that my profession will make me go further and further away from this machine. Most of UIs and stuff like that will be auto-generated by some super artificial intelligence machine, and so on and so on. So what do I have left? I have the human interface. Also, for instance, how will things evolve in the future? Well, we're actually living it right now. For instance, one of my drivers there was that I see this constant debate on, let's say, GMOs or something like that. Things that can save the world or can make the world a better place, but there's constant resistance because of people don't know enough about them. They don't know how to think about them. and they are not ready for it. So
Or there are socio-economical issues, but that's
but still, there are kind of multiple challenges that I see that the kind of human interaction, let's say interface can solve. Then what do you ultimately want to achieve? Then form those into one simple statement. I will give you an homework of this later, or the next step, and then how to evaluate once you have a statement, or let's say 1 or 2 sentences. Is that flexible enough for you to kind of maneuver with it?
Sorry, why do I need a mission?
Well, you don't. It's a thing. Basically, for me, like I said, for some it's a gimmick. For me, it's a tool that guides my decisions. So well, for instance, I use it on my cover letters, or on my applications, or even in LinkedIn. Some don't want to share it at all. Some don't have a need for it. But it's basically this, that you crystallize some sort of driver behind what you do. So, the homework, and this is of course optional. If you feel that you don't have any use for it, then there's no reason why you should do it, of course. But the homework would be that form a mission statement or define your mission in your head. You don't need to use it publicly. Some use this, or some people have multiple different missions for multiple different reasons. For instance, that they want to appear what's the word? American, maybe? I'm not sure what's the correct word for it. But
Or differently to different prospective
Yeah,
employers,
yeah.
right?
But basically, it's basically crystallizing one of few drivers that you have. There's a reason behind why we do things, and it's good to know what's the reason, and what's the kind of next step that could kind of take you further on that road. And of course, you can change it whenever you want. But also, it's good to have it flexible enough so you don't need to change it all the time. So, but there's no exercise for this right now.
I've done it already.
Well,
Okay,
the last person I thought would make a mission statement did it.
Yeah.
So-
So you tear that.
I have 2.
You tear that note. No.
That's your homework, so you don't have to do it at home.
Free evening.
I do my homework always 5 minutes before the next lesson.
Oh, you're one of those?
Okay, so now we jump into CVs. So I will cover 3 different kind of CVs. The traditional CVs, this kind of A4 or PDF or printable, one-sided and two-sided, and then online CV for LinkedIn, basically. Of course, there's other CV platforms out there, but I'm focusing on LinkedIn as it's the kind of standard nowadays. Did I have anything on these? No. So, how do we say this? It's distracting me. The key points basically is that even though it's not a cover letter, it's not a story about anything, it should still feel like it's coming from a person. So when I say make it personal, that should then mean that there should be a picture.
Actually, that I think is like what I've been hearing is that that's very culturally dependent. If you're dealing with the
You're not allowed in the UK.
In the
to
UK.
do
yes,
it.
and
Okay.
in the US also like it's shunned upon, like you shouldn't do that.
Okay,
Um,
well, that's actually,
Here
yeah,
it's a bit different maybe.
Yeah. that's true. And actually, that's the thing that some companies right now are trying to remove anything kind of personal.
Yeah.
So it's only work history related. But I would still consider in this situation those are kind of corner cases.
Well, it depends. Like I mean, you might be applying to a US owned company with has like that has
HR US.
yes, or American management or or like it's you need to do it case by case.
Okay, so well, this is the format that's been working for me.
Sure.
So yeah, and naturally you should kind of research this. I haven't applied to any UK, US
Yeah.
companies, or at least those that
Yeah.
have HR outside of Finland. So let's cover the picture first. This is a thing when you say, let's say, user experience of CVs. This is the part where you actually show that there's a person behind it. It's not just some bot that puts out work history and education and stuff. Of course, in picture, it would be better that you have at least a kind of bit of a smile instead of this kind of prison or.
My LinkedIn picture is a grumpy photo.
But then again, of course, you can find a lot of articles. What kind of pictures should you post on LinkedIn, for instance? So something that looks like you, but it's not something like no sunglasses, faraway pictures, grainy pictures, so on and so on.
Are we allowed to do something in this picture, like riding a horse? Or
Well,
feeding a penguin?
I've heard the advice that it should resemble you in your work environment. Like if you're applying to places where you wear a suit, then the picture should be like wearing a suit, and then in like IT, like you
Neck beard.
funny
Should be more
t-shirts, funny
like this.
t-shirts, but probably not riding an ostrich.
And they show your flair. This is a thing that I personally like. Some people don't like it at all to do it. I tend to put a bit of a joke or something like that in my CV at some point, just to kind of, for instance, in my languages, I have, for those languages that I don't really know how to, if I'm good or not, if I'm terrible, I will just say that I'll survive. So these kind of small things, of course, if you put on or fill in a form of a CV that have those ready-made, then of course you cannot do that, but still. And these are mostly for the kind of CV that you make the traditional A4. Make it readable. I have a few tips or tests after these slides how to make sure it's readable, but from the technicalities, basically maximum 3 font styles. Make sure there's enough white space, and also the text should be short and not too condensed. So margins, enough space between the lines, and so on, so on, so on. Also, I didn't put it here, but for those who are interested, try to use sans serif fonts. They are better. They have better readability. So basically, that means that there's no this kind of small.
Sorry.
Yeah. Then, of course, who are you writing it for, and why should they care? This covers the CV and cover letter both. Especially this applies to the two-sided A4 and LinkedIn, not necessarily to the one-sided. but of course you should know your audience.
Like a dog.
And yeah, I actually don't have a pretty good any tips about it. You just need to kind of think who's reading it or who's seeing it and what would they want to see.
So who, in terms of, this is gonna be an HR person most likely?
Well, it depends.
Or who
It depends.
in terms
depends.
of
If you're writing,
company?
if you're writing straight to the
No,
CTO.
That's what you need to try to
then you're
find
maybe
out.
for him.
You need to find out if it's a HR or if it's actually the person who hires. If you can find that out, that's a huge benefit.
In
Because-
the end, it's always the person who
Yeah.
hires.
But the problem is that if I'm writing to a person that I know is the recruitment, I will not, if I'm writing to you, for instance, I will not put buzzwords all over the CV to pass the HR.
Or if they go through a recruitment agency.
Yeah. Whereas if it goes through a recruitment agency, then I need to populate the CV with catchy phrases that are matching what is in the advertisement.
But the problem is to basically find the right balance. You want it to go
Yes,
through HR or
But
the
there are
recruitment
mechanisms
agency
for
and
this,
so on.
right? You can just you just need to find out that.
So that was actually a thing that I was supposed to mention as well. So you should find a balance between the buzzwords.
Yeah.
And well, HR people, they don't necessarily understand jargon or buzzwords that well, but they maybe have a list what to look for. But they should still understand what you kind of do. Then again, those persons who will know a bit more about the job or line of job that you do, then those persons need to have those buzzwords. So,
But anyway, usually the person that ordered the job, he put the buzzwords there, right?
Yeah.
So you need to have them anywhere. It's just so that you don't get filtered out by even software sometimes. It's just that your CV doesn't get filtered out by software or by someone that doesn't have a clue. So for us, usually developers is you put languages or technologies. If you don't have them there and you just describe what you do, then you might just lose it, even though it was there, just because you didn't say a keyword.
yeah. So, yeah, for instance, yesterday I was helping out one of my friends do his CV, and it's basically CV and then application, and basically you have the job ad on the site all the time if you need to modify. So when I say I have templates, of course I modify them, but I usually have such a kind of I store my different versions so I can just copy paste from them, because in the end we all tend to seek the same kind of jobs that we had previously, so the same buzzwords apply, unless you're striving for a change in career. So again, we have this mystery persona there, one-sided A4. This is basically, I would say that this is something that you used with the portfolio, or also if you're for some reason once you kind of hand out CVs at an event or something like that. I don't know why would you do that, but still. So just basically what should be there. You can see maybe I will add this in the same package as I will get when I give this presentation to you. All of these materials, or basically these are my current, or not current, but CVs that I made in the past 6 months or so. So you can kind of get a clue. But there's no descriptions of the jobs. It's just kind of bam, 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 and nothing else. The portfolio is the thing, or whatever other kind of proof of capability you have is what basically gives the right impression. And actually, I really don't use this at all. I use this only if I have a like a ready-made form from a company that I need to attach a CV and then portfolio as an additional. But I actually have my CV in my portfolio as well. Then the two-sided A4. This is, I think, a bit more popular, but personally I don't like this at all. So again, name, title, blah blah blah. Then a short summary about yourself. Few sentences max. Work history highlights. Short descriptions, 1 or 2 sentences. And then contents to education, other activities, skills, tools, languages. The skills part is actually something that I think might be overlooked at sometimes. You have a lot of, you can write this and this in these languages. I'm not sure if that's a tool or a skill, but on top of those, people tend to have kind of skills that they are not aware of. There's hard skills and soft skills. So I would put even those. For instance, I have facilitating as one of my skills in the CV. I'm not sure if I'm kind of a master facilitator. Not most likely no, but still. And the references. We can actually talk about those later on. And then when to use it if you don't have a portfolio.
You said you don't like this approach, why not?
Because I have a portfolio.
Yeah, but that applies to your
But
job.
you also said that you don't use the one-page CV that you mentioned that you use.
Yeah, I
with the
use it.
portfolio.
Yeah, I have it only
So-
because if I have to add a CV.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't add my portfolio as the CV.
Yeah.
So it's just a kind of backup.
Okay.
Funnily enough, I have more stuff on my portfolio CV about myself than I have on this. I have, for instance, I have removed the skills and hobbies and stuff like that from this. So this is just a kind of really rough overview. Okay, so the tests. The glance test, basically you take a CV, whether it's they're one-sided or two-sided. If you browse through it a couple of seconds, if it catches your attention, then it should be pretty good. Of course, it would be better to give it to your friends or colleagues to test it out, because you're, of course, a bit biased when it comes to that. Then there's the squint test, which tests the readability. So if you look at it, for instance, if you have printed it out or you have it on your screen, if you squint and you can kind of make out the structure and see some level of structure, then it's most likely readable. For instance, it highlights if you don't have enough margins, if you have too messed up fonts and so on and so on. If you don't have enough space between the lines and so on. You don't need to be able to read it, but you need to be able to kind of see the structure. Then, of course, peer review. And this is one of the things that I think is the most important one, that you always, when you may update your portfolio, cover letter, template or CV, that you hand it out to friends or colleagues, or well, of course it would be good to hand it out even to your boss or someone to check it, because they can evaluate from the kind of from hiring perspective. But this is a thing that you just need to put it out there, even before it's kind of ready. And then, of course, the proofreading. And this should be also done by you and at least one other person.
I'm not sure whether I should, but I don't know how many millions of those I went through. And maybe something about at least how I'm doing this on the other side. So
Sure.
the first thing certainly is the skills, whether those actually match. So that's already where I do some pre-sorting. Typically that's something that I get from the job agency already to some extent, or from HR or something.
How do you get the skills? Like, do you look at in the previous jobs or?
No, I basically look at what Marja had there earlier. Typically you have what you had there as tools. So what programming languages, what libraries, what have you been working with?
Okay.
So that's a bit of a pre-sorting. So I just hope you guys are not judging. So then the next thing is basically looking in detail through your job history. So basically there I'm trying to see a bit of an how you have been trying to evolve yourself. So first thing is just the last 3 jobs or something like that. Just what has the person been doing there approximately, and then if that is interesting enough, I basically start from the bottom, and there I want to see a bit of a story. Okay, some consistency, what they have been trying to do, where they have been trying to branch out, looking into something else. But basically, are there major gaps? That is always a bit of a giveaway that there's something odd, and that's typically something that I'm then also asking in the job interview if there has been a gap. But otherwise, trying to find some sort of story, some sort of how people are evolving themselves. And frankly, the most important part still is the reference, or the references. So calling the people up.
Would you?
Best is always to know someone. Yeah, hi Matti, this British guy, James, has been applying and so on. What have you been doing with him, and how is he doing?
Do you think they should be explicitly in the CV? Like
The references?
Yes. Okay.
With a number that you can call directly and not available on request.
Yes. For instance, I have number and email address.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if they're not there, you would go, well, no.
Well, I have to admit that I'm a bit lazy there.
Yeah.
So
Everyone
available
is.
upon request, I almost never do that.
Yeah.
So
Do you do-
requesting is
Do you do that systematically? Calling references?
pretty much.
Can we put you as a reference?
Yes.
Can we put you as a good reference?
Well, I don't know. That depends on the banknotes that I find on my desk.
Can I put you as a good reference?
No, but this is just. I mean, I have to admit that I'm not spending as much time on this typically as I should. There's a lot of pre-sorting, and easily something actually slips through there. And
But the thing is, most recruiters are going to be doing that. They're going to be swamped, or they're going to want to take shortcuts because they're busy people who are looking at other things, right?
I always thought actually like you would call references once you have met the person first, but
that depends a little bit. So how many candidates do I get?
because like at least so far like that has been my feedback regarding this. Because I never put name of references, never. I just put available on request. Because I don't know, it doesn't seem. I think in the screening basically people don't use that basically, because if you have to call references on that level already, then you fucked. I mean basically. Because at that level you have easily 10, 20 people that you might be interested to meet basically, maybe.
But basically, if you think about it, if you have references that you listed available at request, that means that the recruiter has to do extra work to get those references. So once you have those, if you have those ready, and you should have total maximum 3. 1 is suspicious, 2 is kind of enough to work with, 3 is well, it's good, but a bit too much maybe. But if you have those ready, they don't need to contact you before, like they can work on their own pace and so on. So, and it gives you credibility.
And also, if I'm the
I don't think so. At least I don't know. I don't know. I mean, what I expect is that kind of like they will try to figure out if like what is behind the person with the history. And if that person is already relevant to some extent, yeah, I don't know. If you have too many, maybe that makes sense. That's another criteria. I mean, you can't just ditch people because they didn't put references. I mean, that's as simple as this. But
It really depends on how many candidates do you get. So I mean,
And
here
I don't know.
there's a lot of demand and only very few good people. So there you're really looking into everyone whether they have references or not. But if you have a lot of choices, then
okay, yes.
if there are
It's
three,
fair.
I look it up. Okay, do I know any of those guys?
I guess as a safe bet is that it's better to put them anyway, because it's not like I don't have them. It's just that I don't put them because I think like no one would bother at that point to call. Basically, that's the reason.
Yeah, I have
mostly.
also not put them.
That's
Sorry, but
mostly that.
This is kind
I mean,
of
like mostly because of that.
good information.
I mean, for me, it has always been thinking like, at that stage they don't care. I mean, like.
Now, if I'm interested, I'm going to call them. At
Yeah,
least-
but if you're interested
least-
after you met me or
No,
after
before. Just reading your CV, I basically want to validate that, and then actually asking you for a reference.
What kind of things do you ask when you?
Then
ask
first of all, I'm
someone?
committing myself already. I mean, I get your CV. Okay, reference available upon request. So I need to request those from you, which means that you have my contact information. I'm already committing
Okay.
myself. So
Let's
put
be
it on
frank,
my-
right? I mean, it's like recommendation in LinkedIn. Who would put someone there that would not recommend the person? So what's the point for you to call that person? Because you will call and then you will get a good vibe, right?
Can I ask a?
Yes.
Sorry, we're going to go around in circles, but I just want to ask you, Michael, what kind of things do you ask your reference when you?
Yeah, basically that's the same thing.
Well, typically I first have to explain who I am and why I'm talking to these people, and
Then they
then
hang up.
yeah, hi, I'm Michael.
Obviously, like JL's point is that this person is going to be positive about you, otherwise you wouldn't put them down as a reference.
Well, basically, I'm validating a little bit what you have been writing in your CV.
Right.
So you have been working together with that guy. What have you been doing with him, or what has he been doing for you, with you, or depending on the situation? So actually, typically, I'm also looking in what kind of position is that reference in.
Yeah.
So is that
Yeah.
is
So
that
is
going
it
to be
peers?
his boss or a
Are
peer
peers
or something
Worth
like that?
anything or?
Less. I guess.
Well, it also tells me how I can basically approach that person, on what level, and how to
He was
interact.
asking
Are they
if
worth
peers
anything?
or
Would you
managers
even
better.
Would you even call a peer? Or would you just
I
call
don't-
superiors?
Would it be better if I put Matti or you?
First manager.
But in that case, I'm afraid I have to say me.
Mm-hmm.
Simply, no, nothing. It has nothing to do with Matti, but simply on the what the hell do you call it? The social interaction. Your boss can typically
Because
judge
they're-
how do you
Yeah.
interact with others.
They are talking peer to peer.
Yeah.
Is the manager talking to another manager instead of manager talking to a subordinate? That's why you will trust more, in in that sense the trust is more in there. It's stupid, totally bullshit, but it's the reality.
But here, for instance, the references, it's about basically it's all about the image that you create.
Yeah.
So if you have references, like you said, of course, if you have references, they don't talk shit about you. Yeah. Well, so will all the other people who have the references, or then the other people who have the kind of, well, I will give it to you if you ask them. But still, if you have to ask for them, it's extra work. If you have those references ready, it will give a good impression.
Yeah.
And you might even not call them. For instance, when I applied to Finnair, they didn't call one single one of my references. Sometimes they call all three. Well, actually, now I have three, so I need to drop one. But sometimes they call all of them. So it's just creating certain image that people are ready to vouch for you.
One thing I would want to add is that always warn your references in advance.
That's actually one on my list here.
Okay.
And then coming slides.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also have Marja, then what your work relationship with that person was, because LinkedIn does this automatically if you get a recommendation.
I put only their title on it. No, so I don't add what was our work relationship. So it's, well, it comes to the level how much can you simplify until you cannot simplify anymore. So when it comes to CV and cover letter, you should always iterate, take things out until you cannot take anything else out. So the thing is that those need to be quick, fast to read. For instance, the 1 minute test which is on my presentation as well for cover letter. Person should be able to read cover letter within at least in 1 minute or less. CV should be one-sided. CV should be read in like 10 seconds. Two-sided 1 minute again, or something like that. So it's all about taking unnecessary information off. It's not necessarily it's not unnecessary information, but it's something that you can clarify during interviews, or you can think about things that you can kind of go into during interviews. And that's also something, especially with the cover letters, that you put these kind of hooks or chicks that will kind of invite to have a conversation. One thing I actually, before I forget, because we're not going to the work home assignments that work, when you get the homework thing, is that whenever you return it, always leave this kind of invitation to discuss it, or put like when you email it back or something like that. There's the kind of two things. What would you do next if you had the thing that you kind of are returning? What would be your next steps with that? That didn't kind of happen within that time frame, and then the invitation to discuss. If there's something wrong with it, well, of course you don't say that, but yeah, so that you would want to answer the questions and so on and so on. So always end an email exchange with this kind of a discussion invitation. Bit of a spin-off.
So I mean, at least what I've been doing also with homeworks, first of all, I always expect some sort of readme. And that's something that you all guys know. So what does the thing do? Because typically I'm going to give this to someone else as well, and they may not have actually seen that particular homework before. So basically this is now about a programming assignment. So what is that piece of software basically supposed to do? How do you operate it? What are the options, parameters, and so on? But then also, yes, what is still missing? So how far did you get? What are the shortcomings that you are aware of? And then typically there's a deadline when you are supposed to deliver it, and then you already have an appointment when you are going to go through it.
Well, it depends. For instance, most of my job interviews, they give the homework, and then they decide after the homework who gets to continue. So then it's kind of this that you need to kind of put a little hook, let's say, for them to kind of want to find out more or want to discuss more. But these were the tests. Okay, LinkedIn CV. I know that at least one person in this room hasn't updated their LinkedIn CV in a while.
How long is a while?
They're probably two at least. Right? You how long? 2002 for me.
No.
2005 maybe.
I came here, so less than 3 years.
Ah, okay, so I'm winning very easily. 2005 is the latest.
Okay, so things that should be up to date. Your title and contact information. Of course, LinkedIn has a pretty good messaging system already, but then work history, short descriptions. This was an interesting thing. I I updated or added the short descriptions to my LinkedIn profile during my Christmas holiday. And after I added those descriptions with the kind of few keywords, also think about the keywords that you want to use. My page views went up like 300%.
Consistently or just around that time?
Well, it went up and then they stayed up.
Could be also because every time you update your profile, even if it's at one typo, it appears.
That's what I was thinking, but if it's a consistent increase, then probably not.
Put off the notifications.
Okay.
So like it didn't notify people. The first time it notified, and then I noticed that there's.
Yeah, so they were
and then I
real.
put it up.
It's a real
Put it up.
increase.
So, but yeah, and also the amount of headhunters contacting me has been maybe tripled. So this is something that definitely has an effect, at least from my experience. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think if you use the certain keywords, you will pop up in the search results. Also, when a person goes in to view your profile, it looks, again, a bit more credible that you put some effort into it. Then this kind of projects. Well, I haven't added any. I think Rosa added, one of my ex-colleagues added one project and tagged me into it. But of course, the project is only if you have the permission or if they're your own personal kind of projects. Extracurriculars or education. It's these are the things that if you add those on or update those will kind of, because you update it, it will kind of boost you for a while. Testimonials. I'll have to check. Yeah. No, it's not yet, but testimonials, we'll go into that a bit later. Then the skills, tools, languages, blah, blah, blah. The reason why LinkedIn CV should be updated is that now that they have a pretty kind of substantial job ad channel, and you can also apply through LinkedIn. If you click that button, apply through LinkedIn, and if they don't have any kind of other kind of gates before that, you're applying with the CV that you have in LinkedIn. So the CV that you have in there goes straight to the company. So if you have that sorted out, then it's all good and well. But if you don't, you
not even given the chance of adding a cover letter. So that's all.
Yeah, exactly. So
It's not negative actually, because the problem is that kind of like after many years, your experience actually might be very various. And well, Michael was saying that there's a story, but I mean, people might have different stories. Especially like I remember reading, in management, for instance, people have really, really a lot of different stories. They have been in sales, people have all kind of moving around. So when you apply to a job, you apply some part of it and you might just filter out some part of your history. So why the hell would you give the full thing? It's actually give you a negative thing. I don't know, I have like kind of like 10 items in my job. I cannot list all of that.
well, it comes to that if you want to. For instance, I haven't listed all of my jobs in LinkedIn, and I take some things out when I think it's kind of not relevant anymore to my ambitions. So you kind of keep that tight as well.
So you stick to the profile you want right now, basically.
More or less.
And you're not seeking
But still, even if you have the kind of 10 jobs, what I know of LinkedIn, the applications that LinkedIn sends, it highlights the kind of topmost.
Relevant? Relevant?
Well, no, the topmost jobs or the recent jobs. So those kind of things that you've done 20 years ago, they're kind of on the kind of.
Yeah, but imagine, okay, let's take you as an example, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that you would like to resume the industrial design, right?
Yeah.
That's back into your first jobs, right? More or less. Like it's backwards, right? So if you need to kind of highlight that now. and
Yeah,
need
but
to
then-
complement
then-
it with the new jobs you had. And this is a fine-tuned stuff basically. So you need, a way to construct this.
But then I would add projects to my LinkedIn profile, industrial design related projects.
Okay.
So it's how you manage it.
Actually, I think LinkedIn even allows you to change the order of things, so it's not
Yeah,
necessarily
true.
just based on the time.
True.
It's not necessarily the most recent ones.
Yeah, and you can
rearrange
highlight.
them.
Yeah.
The time is the default, but you can actually rearrange these.
Yeah, true.
And
You didn't do that in 2005.
and if
He didn't do much in 2005.
and I guess it also depends on where you're applying for. Like I don't know, but I don't know how many jobs in the IT industry you can only apply through LinkedIn, or how many have both options. And if they have both options, then you're better you're better tailoring it and going to it. But
of course.
like LinkedIn is good for headhunters because they're the ones who are going to put the time
Yeah.
to do that filtering. Whereas if you're applying directly, you have to put the time to do that filtering. So LinkedIn isn't the most optimal way to do it. But it's another tool in the arsenal of.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, the information that you have there, you use that same information. For instance, the descriptions, you reuse them in your, let's say, in the CV, what you have. Maybe you can have a bit longer descriptions in LinkedIn than in the CV, but still you can reuse the same thing. So it's not like you're doing double the work.
Yeah, I still wanted to say something that I'm doing in LinkedIn, or I've been doing in LinkedIn every once in a while. Checking who are your connections. There are a lot of people who have, 500 plus connections, which typically means that they are accepting absolutely everyone and everything, whether it's relevant or not, and they're just clicking on accept.
They're extrovert.
Sorry?
Or they're extrovert.
It depends. So, but I've been trying to figure out now what would be a good number, but 500 plus.
But
It's very unlikely.
For sales guys, that's normal.
Yeah, and for instance, was it in Ireland that you're not even considered unless you have less than 500?
I don't know. Look, this is and I then typically there's this. There's this on the right side where it shows.
If you have less than 500, you're not considered.
All right, yes, that's right.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it's actually very easy to cheat that system.
Yeah, and that's what one of my friends did. So.
And that's actually rather easy to find out as well. But you can actually check in LinkedIn how are these people connected to you, over how many links and who do you know there in between. And that also shows a bit of a cloud. So is there any connection at all? How far away are they? And if they just have a huge cloud of basically completely irrelevant people around them, then this is one guy who has been cheating the system basically, or has been.
Is in sales.
That is one possibility, or actually he might be a very good developer who has been hacking Microsoft. So.
Yeah, well, a developer with 500, maybe that's suspicious.
No, but
this strikes a point to me because I think I have way over 500, or like it's over 500, and well, I'm an introvert developer, but I treat LinkedIn quite differently from Facebook. Like in LinkedIn, if there's the recruiters like very commonly like send you connect invites. And if they seem to be in any way relevant, if they seem to be recruiting in my area, for example, I usually accept them, even though I haven't had any prior contact with them. It's for most other people, I would prefer to have had at least met them. But other than that, I'm not really picky on, I'm cheap on LinkedIn basically.
Yeah.
Way cheaper than on my personal social media.
I have to admit that I'm a lot more picky there. Yeah, so I really only accept people whom I know and where I can really say something about them.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll cover the testimonials soon, but I've noted down the kind of modern day references. We had the discussion about who's your reference? Is it a peer or a boss? Generally, I would say it's your boss or superior. But in LinkedIn, it's kind of the other way around. Oh, not another way around, but it's everyone. So it actually gives a much more diverse image of you as an employee and as a person. So that's actually something that you should kind of focus on.
Can you prevent to see actually all the ones that you have received?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll go there soon. Okay. Did you have your CVs with you? So exercise, think about your life and career path to this point, and list 3 highlights of your working career, 1 highlight of your education or extracurriculum, and then 1 highlight of your personal life.
I'm recording my screen now, so I'm not going to. But I think I'll manage even without seeing my
Why
slide.
do we do this?
You're not sharing your screen.
You are sharing your screen, I'm watching it and
Okay.
recording it from here.
But how is this
But
different
is it
from
you
exercise
mean,
one?
like, do you want this to be about CV or just like as on the?
This is something that you, especially the working career highlights and education extracurriculum highlights, is something that you can kind of work into your CV,
Yeah, right,
or
yes,
that you,
sure.
you start develop or rework your CV with.
How's it different from first exercise?
This is things that you have done basically, and the kind of let's say this is one particular job, not one particular moment in a job. If you kind of like, what would you list in a CV as a job?
Okay, that's more generic.
Think about kind of CV items. What would you list as a CV item? Highlights, 3 highlights.
So the fact that I wrote some of my best code being completely inebriated and having absolutely no recollection about it is not on my CV, so I wouldn't mention it here.
Yeah, this especially the 3 highlights of your working career. This is totally kind of CV stuff, CV items.
I'll go into the dog just in case.
Is it bad if I can think of like
Of what?
highlights?
Of your career?
I mean,
Your whole career has been one highlight.
For which part?
Well, what would you tell about your work history? Like 3 first things that comes to your mind. What you would tell someone about? What are you doing, for instance, now? What have you done before? And preferably, of course, things that you liked. That I would think makes them a highlight.
You can ask people also. Sometimes it helps.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, or maybe you don't consider.
No, sometimes you don't. You don't.
Oh, you
see
don't
it.
see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, you consider it's your normal behavior or job or whatever, but actually people noticed that it was not normal. That might help to do that as well. But this is actually tough. This is the more like, what do you call it, like a more vulnerable part of this whole application thing. When you list highlights and you find out from the regard of the others that this is not highlight, this is just normal stuff. This is like basically the big slap in your face, basically. Like, you know, I don't know if it happens after when you have experience, but when you are starting, it's really, really hurting. You know, when you're like you just had like 1 year in a job and something like this, and you think that this was a big deal for you, and then you apply to a more senior position, and people just know, I mean, expect it like, oh, this is highlight. Well, that's just normal stuff, you know, like.
Of course, we are not talking that you will like talk about them as a highlight. You just basically what you want to focus on with your CV.
Yeah, but you open it up in an interview, right?
Yeah.
So you can't prevent that, so.
Especially when the majority of your career has been writing papers. They don't appreciate it that much.
Well, I guess in the academic they appreciate it.
Yeah,
but in the industry,
exactly.
they might not appreciate it that much.
Actually, that depends. Don't underestimate that. That depends on
It
the other
depends
side.
with the receiver.
Yeah.
Like always, right? Well, if I tell you want to take an example, if I tell you that kind of all the great UX I did when I was a kid, to you it will not really work, right? Sorry, I had to take it, but that's an example that applies to you. Research will resonate into you because you have done it. So yes, it's always like that, right? And if I tell Marja like all the great engineering I did, I don't think she will care. You know.
What are you talking about? Of course she will.
Yeah,
Obviously.
she will try to care, but she can't appreciate it. You know, to the extent that you appreciate it, right? So
I'm sure she does, because that's really important.
It's so sad that you didn't come to next time. We need to redo this multidisciplinary thing yesterday. We spent a kind of 1 hour. Yeah, I went to in Futurize. I went to a meetup there, and the whole point was about multidisciplinary teams talking. And guess what is the pain point? Like when you mix all kind of bunch of pain points, like you know, the most common pain point is about like you know understanding each other regarding terminology and you know appreciate like what other people are bringing on the table.
Are you more or less done with the highlights? Then just continue working with the highlights. Take, let's say, take one of the work highlights, for instance, and write down what exactly did you do. For instance, if I would say that during my time at Enevo, I did user experience design. Well, no shit. What exactly did I do? Then one aspect or expertise that I didn't have when I started working in the company or before I started the project or similar, what did I develop during it? Then one highlight, often highlight. who did I work with, or who did you work with during the project or job, and why is it a highlight for you? How does it reflect your values? And then take a step back. So you answer these questions for one highlight. Then take a step back and look the highlights that you wrote down. And what is the common ground? What is the theme that ties those all together? So the goal of the first questions, or the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 first questions, is more or less how would you start to write the description. Second two, or the last two questions, is a bit actually about what kind of profile could you form for yourself. And perhaps finding the drivers as well.
This sucks.
But there's a lot of self-reflection that you can do.
That's why it sucks.
It's a painful exercise.
Well, it depends. I for instance, I like it a lot. I like a lot, like doing these kind of exercises a lot.
I like to do it on my personality, not on my job.
Right? It kind of clarifies things that you didn't know that.
On the job.
On the top, middle, bottom, whatever.
I don't know. It's in the job. It's really painful, especially that when basically like you are actually, I don't know, really emphasizing on the teamwork. All of this, there's a lot of I in there, and when you're in a teamwork, it's not really. It's hard to put the I, right? You do brainstorming.
Yeah.
You don't remember the I, you just remember the team.
Yeah.
So nowadays, most of our time is spent into the teamwork. So.
But I would kind of use that, for instance, what did you do? I would, if that's the thing, I would actually kind of turn it that my goal was to bring everyone on the same table, promote communication, blah, 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 this kind of stuff.
But that's the one that take an initiative, but that can rotate, first of all.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation. If you take 1 year, for instance, depending on the people, everyone has done that.
Yeah.
So it's not a consistent thing. It's just that.
But here you're actually talking about yourself. With the CVs, cover letters, you're talking about yourself. You're not talking as a cell in a team, because they are not hiring a team to do the work. They are hiring you.
Yes.
As an individual who should be able to work in a team. For instance, what did you do? There's also the what did the team or you actually achieve? That's a separate thing to what did you do. Basically, achievements and doing is a bit different. You can kind of try to get something done, but you don't get it done, but you still did it. Do you get what I'm kind of getting at? But it's the problem, not the problem, but
the only thing that I'm saying is that we as developers, basically, the only thing where I can say, what did you do, is the code I wrote only me, which is actually kind of biased as well. Because basically there's always someone reviewing it, which is again become a teamwork.
But that's not all you did. You didn't just write code.
But
you did something else as well.
But if I take dailies, brainstormings, all of this, it's always people together as a team, as a group.
Yeah.
I cannot say, I can just say okay, Nico will say, I participated in this, I participated in this, I participated in this, right? You will not say I brainstorm or this kind of stuff. Does that make sense to you?
But
That doesn't make sense to
participation
me.
is, of course, it's also doing.
Yes, but
If it's facilitating, that's also doing, but participation is.
facilitation is another one.
But
You know what I mean? I mean, if you look like the time we spend sometimes, I mean, we spend shitload of time into kind of like designing, brainstorming and all of this, sadly. I mean, really. Like at least one day per week.
Most of the time we're building on top of something that already exists.
You can think that through this, that the team, what would the team do with it? What kind of team would it be without you? What is the thing that you bring into the team? For instance, with the stealth team, would there be that amount of brainstorming? Would there be what would be missing? Well, that's the thing that you do.
I don't say I mean here it's I know that, but I mean I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that kind of like in the past I realized that kind of like, you know, if you bring us into brainstorming. So you initiated the brainstorming, but the people that came up with the idea that ended up actually participating and shaping the concept, that's as valuable than, you know, the person that decided to bring everyone together. And that you cannot really single it out because it was a teamwork. And this is really hard to actually, what do you call it?
Actually, you are the one.
To emphasize.
You are the one who brought the team together, and without.
That person is clear. This is one is easy. But if I call, for instance, like Nico, Edu, James, and me into a brainstorming. Okay, yes, I initiated the brainstorming. If Nico came up with the super ideas that kind of like, you know, this one time, Nico is the one that came up with the bright ideas that we're going to use in the concept. Next time it will be Edu. Next time it will be James. I mean, it's hard to say, I came up with that bright idea, because, you know, it's so diluted ultimately. You know what I mean? It's hard to get credit for single things like that.
It's other than just concrete outputs that underline what you do. Well, it's not the achievement and doing again. It's those are kind of two different things. And this is the thing that I've been, for instance, I myself have trouble with, that where is the line of kind of unnecessary bragging and humbleness and so humility is. And I think that's a thing that people usually, until they do these kind of exercises, they don't actually realize how much they do. How the developer's job is not just to code. They communicate, they delegate. But people don't always realize how much they actually do.
People don't realize how important it is.
And it's important to kind of identify the aspects of your job.
So people don't realize how important it is, that I agree. The thing is that, Michael, if you see like a developer writing like kind of like, I don't know how to put it, but like a developer that basically would describe like, I participate actively into concepting and all of this. How would you react to that? If you read that in the developer, you know, lines, or something like this, you know, like the differential profile. The profile of a developer that basically is more like kind of in his corner a bit more, versus a developer that has more soft skills and kind of like, you know, glue things and this kind of stuff, or just actively participate with other developers about design and all this.
First, have you got through this exercise yet?
No.
Okay, yeah. Then the second thing, it's good to think about the answers to these questions. That doesn't mean that the answers of these questions will be on your cover letter or on your CV. It's just basically some sort of substance to how, for instance, what would you tell about those things in an interview, for instance, that you have the kind of a background to it. The description itself, some of the answers to these questions might show through the words that you use. but mostly it will be kind of straightforward. But you kind of need to have something backing that up during the interviews, for instance. And if the doing is just coding, how are you then different?
I'm thinking more about not like kind of like what, you know, I'm realizing that, okay, let's say that you realize all of this. If this question leads you to realize this, then it's about what do you communicate or not, basically. What is obvious and expected and what is not. That's the hard part I have, for instance. You know, like in when do you use the I and when not? That's the hard part for me, regarding this part, basically.
Well, that's the thing that you can figure out after this. We can spend 1 more minute without no discussion, so we can kind of wrap
I don't know, I just thought that
exercise.
for me, I just thought it would be a common problem actually. Maybe it's just my problem.
No, I don't have the same problem.
I mean, I think it's a common problem, but
Hey, here's an exercise.
yes. But I know that, that's
Shut
not.
up, do it.
French people.
Like I said, at this point, when you're talking about CVs, they are hiring an individual.
And it could be to not being able to answer.
I'm able to, but it's just that
Let's move on.
it's credits, not credits. I don't know, it's the high, it's the problem.
Okay, we'll just skip that. So basically, it would be the next exercise would have been to write 1 or 2 sentence description. But we will get this later, and you can do it. Yeah. Then the homework. So of course, whatever you want to have in the CV, write the descriptions. And basically then add skills, languages and other missing items, so you then will have a complete CV. About the CV, I will add the examples of my CVs. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they are pretty kind of been through a lot of tweaking and reviewing from different kind of people and professionals. So they're not bad, at least. Then we'll go back to the references and testimonials. So we had a discussion about this already. And like I said, references too ideal. Remember to give the heads up if you're applying. And also, well, for instance, I had one reference living in Australia, so also I gave a heads up for the company that I was applying that you should probably approach that person with an email.
Nicholas is up there.
Yeah, that this is the fictional character Marja's testimonials in LinkedIn. But yeah, the testimonials, the LinkedIn testimonials, they're the more you get, the better. And because your team members, bosses, whoever can write the testimonial. Of course, you have the option to decline a testimonial if you don't feel that it's relevant to yourself, and then clean them up. But basically, the more you have, the better. You see that my track record is not that good when it comes me giving testimonials. I'm about to fix that. And I hope you will too, since your homework number 3 is to write at least 2 testimonials to someone at Enevo in LinkedIn.
I don't have a LinkedIn account.
Great.
I'm not
So,
gonna create,
now
sorry.
you have another action point, creating an account.
He's exempt, he doesn't need one.
Okay, so if
Since
you
it
don't,
was
if
bought
you don't,
by Microsoft, I'm considering to close mine.
so if you don't have a LinkedIn account, if you don't have a LinkedIn
I
account,
can imagine myself writing 2 testimonials.
I would suggest that you still write a short testimonial
Exactly.
to 2 persons and give it to them. So the funny thing, or like the nice thing about testimonials, that they make you feel warm and fuzzy inside for at least 1 week once you've gotten it. So
Should we kind of stagger them so that you get them once a week?
52 of them per year, can you reuse them next year?
And also, testimonials in LinkedIn, on LinkedIn, they are actually a pretty good thing when it comes to recruiters or the companies that you apply to. They usually check your LinkedIn account and they usually check your testimonials as well. That has happened at least during the past 3 different places that I've applied to. So, and they have all commented on those. So I know that they check the testimonials as well. Then the cover letter. We have only a few slides left. I will give, there's the interview question thing. I will give, or the interview training, I will give the material. We don't have the time to go through those. With the cover letter, it's talking directly to the reader. Of course, the tone should be professional. I have a slightly casual tone, but professional. It depends exactly how would you want to, what kind of image do you want to kind of create in the reader's head. But the number one question that you should have an answer to is, what can you do for them? And this is something that should happen. The answer to that, or the kind of first kind of, again, a hook. I'm not sure if that's the correct word, but kind of something to kind of get the reader interested. That should happen in this part of the cover letter here. And at least here, this is the line. Then, show your personality and professionalism. Some things about the content. Why did you send this? Any context? Like if you got the tip off from someone or something like that. Psyched. Okay, well maybe you wouldn't use that word, but basically, why are you applying? What can you do for them? So you have kind of given them a little bit of that also already in the first paragraph, but then all of second paragraph. And I know I have multiple, like more than the paragraphs I say here. But the second paragraph should be focused only on what kind of things that you give, is or what kind of professional or expertise can you give them. The third, and in my case, the fourth paragraph is that how do you work, and what is your kind of personality characteristics, so on and so on. How do you work with teams? Naturally, we all work with fabulous team members and so on. So, and then there's the one-liner here. Why should you choose me? One-liner. In my case, I believe that I can bring a lot of ideas, great design, and good spirit to the table and to your team. Well, it's not necessarily a one-liner, but one sentence. Then the invitation to contact and discuss, the last paragraph or sentence. And then maximum length of cover letter is 1/2 of A4 in a normal font and margin. No, this is actually, I have huge margins over there, and this is not a normal font.
There's an it missing in the last question.
Shit. Yeah.
It's in that time. Now there's an in missing.
And then do a test read. If you can read it in 1 minute, then it's kind of okay. But the kind of carrot should be already here, so you don't need to read the whole thing to get the idea. Okay, we're skipping this as well because we're running out of time. But basically, well, the homework would be that you would try the draft and then iterate and do a complete cover letter. And this is something, if I go here, the only thing here I usually change when I apply to, let's say I have 20 jobs online. I've been using this template. I think I wrote this when we were leaving Synchronous F-Secure. And I've been using this same template from that point onwards. I change only like this, that how did I get here, and why do I want to be there, and then I might change the industries that I worked with, the order of those or what those were, but otherwise, and maybe put some keywords here and there, but otherwise it's more or less the same. So once you have that kind of fine-tuned to that level that you don't actually need to put much effort into it, so you can put out like 20 applications within really short amount of time.
Can we get to the topic of cover letters in LinkedIn applications? Because like as you said,
You are sometimes given the option to attach a cover letter.
Yeah,
sometimes also to attach a CV.
Yeah, but the one that I just started my process of happened to find one offer opening which was kind of fun and interesting, and then I decided, okay, let's go for it, and just did the easy application thingy, and you had the option to add a CV. So okay, I just then added my CV, but then at that point didn't write a cover letter, which I'm kind of, because the CV and they might wonder why on earth I applied to that position because it wasn't exactly fully aligned with my previous stuff.
Yeah.
Even though that is very much in line with my, let's say, current or future interests, and that I guess would require a cover letter to explain.
Yeah.
But should I then just make a PDF with the cover letter and CV, and that's just there, or?
That's an option. Well, for instance, I have in my portfolio, I can show it to you quickly here. I don't know if I'm sharing the entire screen, but my portfolio, I have this short cover letter. It's generic, it doesn't apply to one single thing, but if I'm sending out my portfolio, I'm also always sending out a cover letter. And there's the CV and there's this stuff.
Marja, I have a question. So, unless you know exactly what you want, which is probably not my case, shouldn't you be fine-tuning either your CV or your cover letter, or both? So we find a position that deals with, okay, now there's an option to manage a team of whatever. And you've been doing that in the past. It would be great to highlight that somehow, more in your CV or in your cover letter, or even both.
Yeah.
So I don't see how having a template, you don't seem to change much. Is it because you always apply to kind of the same thing and you quite narrow down to what you want? Or there might be other positions that maybe require, I don't know, more of a technical expertise. And then you want to highlight that, okay, I have this background, I've been doing this, I've been using these tools. So then you need to change that as well. And you need to highlight that. So I don't see how this could match that. I mean, do you change the cover letter and have like a constant CV? Or do you change the CV, have a constant cover letter, or?
Well, like I said in the beginning, for instance, I have 4 different portfolios. So for me, especially I apply through portfolios. I rarely apply only with CV, but I always have a cover letter. Not the one that is attached to the portfolio, but a separate one. But I tweak the thing with the portfolio. But there I have still a set of the things that I kind of want to focus on. So with the templates, I do have that, for instance, this paragraph here is slightly different, or I have a slightly different version of it if I want to send an application to a different.
But it's slightly, so you don't, if the description says we're looking for this, this or that, you don't then go and grab that and insert it there and say, if you're looking for
Not
this.
to that level, no. So I do, of course, I run through the cover letter that does it make sense compared to the job ads, but I change the cover letter only if I need to. And if you have the skeleton or the kind of template ready, most of the places if you have a kind of really good template, you usually get the interview, even though you kind of put it there like this. Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to add to this is that it basically makes the whole thing meaningless. If you basically just, I'm putting out an ad, I'm looking for someone, and you just copy, paste it basically into the letter that you're sending back to me, and you say that you can do that, well, otherwise you wouldn't have applied.
He didn't mean that. He meant like you refer what is in the application.
Yeah, but this is something
and you
I
emphasize.
need to determine by myself from the rest of his CV.
But no, the point of the cover letter is that you try to prove what is relevant in your experience compared to what they are looking for. And the point of Edu was like, every application might be different for that, and therefore, of course, you might have some templating, but depending on what situation you face, you might have to tune it every time.
You've done a lot of things in your professional career, and you don't have everything in your cover letter.
I think it depends on the job, it depends on the person. For instance, like I have changed a lot. I have many templates in that sense. You have as many portfolio, you have 4 portfolios. Maybe I have 5, 6 templates of cover letter. But yes, I do
exactly.
that.
But
yes,
that's what
I don't have
mean.
one. Yes,
yeah.
I have a backbone. I have a structure. Yeah. That is true. But inside the paragraph, there is a lot of flexibility because of what Edu said.
Yeah. Well, I for instance, I have. This is something that I always write like again and again. Then the last sentence here is something that I write again. But then this is like when I say the third paragraph, how do I work characteristics? That's something that usually doesn't change that much. So I can kind of run with it, kind of double check it if it does make sense. If not, then I will tweak it. But
but you have your portfolio then that you fine tune or use in every occasion. Whereas I don't know what my portfolio could be like. How do I respond to tickets? So if you don't have a portfolio,
your portfolio could be good customer testimonials.
Yeah, but that doesn't change.
It would be pretty good if you could get a customer testimonial on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, but what I mean is that wouldn't change. I wouldn't have 4 different ones.
Well, portfolio applied to what she does, right? Our developers is not portfolios, it's reference to code or project or whatever that might be available. So jobs are different. So it's.
But I would agree that tuning them to the application, especially if you have very distinct types of jobs which you're applying to, then yes, too easy to.
Yeah, and not even that. Maybe some jobs value more the fact that you have done some training in the past. So then you want to highlight that, hey, I have been doing training because that's what they're looking for. Others might be, managing a large amount of or a big group of people. Then you need to highlight that. So because there are no, I at least don't have a portfolio. Then
if you are so I don't know. Well, could you say that kind of basically you know more or less what you want and you have been pursuing the same, more or less profile or same direction?
Well,
Does that help?
I've changed a lot during even the last 5 years, but the thing is that I always try to think first what I want and then then start applying according to that.
Yeah.
And then
So then it's easy.
once you
Yeah,
kind of
I think
set your course, it's easier to have those kind of let's say templates, for instance, because you know where you're going. So, but if I'm kind of branching out to all like multiple different directions, of course that then is difficult.
Personality, I guess, right? Personality also.
Yeah.
I mean, you know. Like for instance, I don't know, I've talked that numerous times with you see, like, you know, we are interested in so many things for us, it's really hard to say, I want this, you know, when I see an opportunity, then something raised, start to think, oh, this could be interesting, you know, and then you're fucked, basically. Because you always, you know, you
Find something.
yeah, it's personalities.
Well, for instance, I if we go back to beginning, the mission, the statement that I have, I use even that as the kind of way that I want to portray myself, in the cover letters or in the whatever email exchange. Also about emails at your LinkedIn or whatever relevant online profiles you have in your signature. That's pretty good. Thank you. So they don't need to find you, like search you in Google or something like that. You might also avoid being caught in a weird picture or something. They don't do a Google search. Yeah, well, there was the cover letter draft. And then, well, homework. Once you have your cover letter and CV kind of drafts ready, ask a colleague or a friend to check them and give comments, and then oh yeah, this wasn't the kind of key question is that what kind of image are you creating there, and even, well, of course you most likely will ask people that you know you already, but basically what person would they think is behind those, let's say the CV and the cover letter. Then take the criticism, good and bad, iterate and tweak, and then proofread. And then there's the homework overview. There was other things as well, but yeah, I can quickly show you my what I call the interview exercise. This is my interview exercise for Finnair. So
Interview exercise, right?
yeah, before I go to any interview, I put down good things and bad things of me as an employee, as a designer, as part of R&D, as a team member, as a person. So basically you type in good things, what you think is true, or at least what you hope is true. And then the bad thing, what is the thing that you should develop in that aspect of yourself. And then, well, of course, why would I go there? And also then, what questions would I ask during the interview?
Yeah, that's important.
No. So of course the quick key is that they should sell the company to you as almost as much as you sell yourself to them. One of the questions that some might maybe see a bit risky, but do I have it here or do I have it somewhere else? Well, one of the questions that I've usually asked is that at the end of the, let's say, final interview, I ask, do they have any kind of doubts about me? Or not in that, I don't phrase it like that, but basically, is there any questions or that they are unsure, why should they hire me, that I could still kind of fix during that last few minutes.
Is it at the first interview or?
Well, it depends. Part of these questions I asked during the first interview, parts I asked during the next, and then I keep adding questions in between. And also the as an employee, as a designer, blah blah blah. This is a thing that you do for yourself. You don't need to memorize this. It's just the kind of image that you create about yourself as well for the interviews. This kind of, and hopefully a realistic image, but also an optimistic image as like at the same time, or positive image. The realism comes into play when they are what I'm bad at, or what should I still focus on. And then the kind of, these aren't finished, but weaknesses, strengths. How would your colleagues describe you? What's the worst thing or worst mistake that you ever done? Best or biggest success? What excites you? What cannot you what don't you just can't deal with? What kind of colleagues do you like? What is a good boss? Then this part, so I could actually add this. So these are in between interviews. I have this kind of template that I again use, but this was after this psychological evaluation. So I took the kind of bad bits of it and I tried to find an answer to it. So when you go into the next interview, you have, if they kind of tackle into those, you have an answer for already. Yeah, that's actually all about that. One thing I kind of hoped that we would have had time to go through is the curveball thing, that if you get curveball questions or that in an interview you have that, well, we have a task for you, you have 3 minutes to do this. That's how will you manage? But I think that can be saved for whatever discussion. It's over, like 35 minutes over, so.
What is a psychological test?
Matti,
What
and how do you know whether the binary tree is balanced?
Whether the binary tree
Sure,
is
bold.
Well, that's exactly what you should do. You should give yourself some thinking time by saying that or repeating the thing. Yeah.
To appear smart.
More slowly, binary tree, binary.
But we're not we're not wanting to get into the US, so we're not going to be asked that question.
Any single branch should be
Not sure, not set. Not sure.
plug in.
There's probably few.
Yeah, Marja, about this psychological test, what kind of tests?
You can actually Google them. You can find pretty good tests, but the general test you can find basically from Mensa's site. There are the spatial tests, numeric tests, kind of word, or it's not literature, but kind of language test in a way. And then creativity test was one as well. Logical thinking or analytical thinking, speed and processing. So, but you can find those usually. For there are also a couple other sites that you can find those. I think you can, if you Google like psychological test plus work or something like that, you can get pretty good results. But the basic tests are the same as Mensa's. And
all of those are basically things that you can like practice and exercise.
Sorry.
No.
So
Alright.
I will share this presentation with you, the CVs,
Thanks, Molly.
cover letter, and then my list of questions that you should have an answer to or think